Welcome to Gym Owner Freedom. I am Scott Carpenter, and I am a former broke, struggling, frustrated, and overworked gym owner that felt stuck no matter what I did to try and improve the business. Once I realized that the answer wasn't what I thought it was, just getting more clients, and after really doing the math on acquisition and churn rates, I realized I wasn't even playing a winnable game to begin with. With my current price structure, mathematically, there was no way I could afford to pay my staff so I could scale up and out of the business, that I can have the time, the money, the impact, and the freedom that I always knew I was capable of. Once I learned how to add value by selling transformational programs to people who needed more than just workouts, everything changed in my life. Today, I own 6 gyms that all run without me, and I am free to pursue my passion projects and work just because I love to, not because I have to. And if that's a goal that we mutually share together, then this is the show for you. I'm going to teach you the framework to make way more money with less clients and open up a world of possibilities to you. Subscribe, leave a review, and tune in every week. It'll change your life. I promise you that. All right, so we are live on it. We got recording everywhere, so excellent. So some of you we'll be watching it on Facebook Live, some on Zoom. But today we're going to talk about digging your well before you're thirsty. And it's really learning the secrets to securing cash when the banks won't help, which is quite often. The biggest thing, guys, is that banks will not give you money unless you can prove you don't need it, which is ridiculous because you wouldn't be going to them otherwise, right? But this comes up time and time again. And I realized how important it is to share this information, because I've been a huge beneficiary of learning the banking system and getting OPM, other people's money, to grow. But it also serves as a really good safety net. And this topic has come up, 3, 4, 5 times in the last several weeks with really good business owners, really great operators that don't know this game. And A, it can set you up where it kills your business, or B, you just can't grow. And let me give an example of one. So he's not this yoked as you see in the picture. Whenever I ask AI to create a picture of a gym owner, it gets him yoked. But there's a gym owner, California, who had no reason to dig your... When I talk about digging your well before you're thirsty, this is getting access to cash and capital before you need it. When you take these steps, when you actually need the money, it is there and you have access to it right away. And you can either A, have a safety net, or B, you can use it to jump ahead, whether it's acquiring a competitor and adding another location, whether it's buying a cash flowing real estate investment. You need access to capital. If you wait until you need it, it is too late most of the time. So I was on with this gym owner, and he's in California, and successful gym owner, had no reason to get access to capital. Everything's running great. Well, what happened is that the lease was up at the end of this year, and a few months ago, the landlord said, hey, I'm not going to renew your lease. I'm using this property for something else. Now, in this market, there's very few places to choose from. No matter what, he's going to look at a massive expense, right? So you have the cost of building out a new suite. Yes, sometimes you can get that negotiated in your lease, in everything. But quite often, a lot of the build out is going to be on you and out of pocket. We have that. Then you have the cost to move all that equipment. You are going to be losing people. So typically when you move, you're going to lose some people, and some people are just looking for any reason to quit. You're going to lose people at the same time. Hopefully, there's a place that he can find in order to get into, get permits, build out, have ready, move in, and not have a loss. He might, might have to shut down for 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to expect a lot more losses there. But the bottom line is, even if everything goes smoothly, it's a lot of money to make that thing happen. It is a lot of money to do that. And you might not keep wads of it on tap. And so he was this close to getting a business line. I advised him to get a business line of credit quite a while ago. He started the process, just didn't finish and sign up on it. Now, when he needs access to the money, guess what? The banks don't want to give him the money. And this happens all the time. So at the end of the day, nobody's really thinks it's urgent to get out and do this stuff because you might not need the money now. But when you need the money is when the banks are the least likely to give it to you. And you could be in a really bad situation because anything can happen, guys. You guys could get in an auto accident next week and only be able to work 10 hours a week on the floor, and you're maybe doing a lot more than that. Anything can happen. You need to have a safety net. But also, guys, banks won't give you money, not only unless you got to prove you don't really need it. And that's the time when you don't need it is the time to do it. That's the time to dig your well. But banks will also not give you money unless you learn to play their game. And what do I mean by that? This just happened literally yesterday on a call. There's a business owner I work with who runs a phenomenal business, extremely profitable. He's made a ridiculous move to buy a whole ton of land and his house, and he paid for it in all cash. And he got it at an amazing price. So he's got all this equity, no mortgage, nothing. It's all paid off. He's got over $1 million in equity with this house and land. And he wants to grow. He wants to do multiple locations. It's a really good market for it. It's a smart play. And I started talking to him about this stuff. And listen, you got to dig your well before you're thirsty. He was kind of a Dave Ramsey guy before, who's always like, hey, don't avoid debt at all costs, which is not realistic. That's not how the world works. I wouldn't be in business and successful if I didn't use debt and loans, nor would the majority of us. But he played that game, right? So he bought everything cash, which is very responsible, right? House, car, you name it. But that will backfire against you because banks don't like that. He thought he'd be very credit worthy. If he needs to get a home equity line of credit to use to grow his business, he's like, great. I have no mortgage. I have all this equity to choose for, right? And all this stuff. I cash flow great. But here's the thing. His credit file was so thin. There were a couple very tiny blemishes on it, which wouldn't be a big deal if he had a robust credit history. But he doesn't have much. And there was one erroneous error that I have to teach him how to get that stricken from the record too, how to dispute that and get that taken off his credit record. But the bottom line is there's nothing really bad in there besides a couple minor things, because that fraudulent thing was like $54. But because he really never used it and he doesn't know the tricks, for instance, he had a credit card that he paid in full. It's only $4,000 limit because he got it recently, but he pays it in full every month. But there's a difference of paying it in full every month and then paying it before the billing period is up. And even though he had $3,000 some on it and he paid in full every month, his credit utilization rate was 81%. And get this, so he pulled his credit score, and the two scores were low 500s and a 488. And he got denied on a home equity line of credit, somebody who cash flows amazing, net worth, he's only like 35, 36. Net worth, he's probably in the top 1% to 2% in the nation. And he's responsible, doesn't have auto loans, doesn't have a mortgage, everything's own cash, and the banks hate him until he fixes this. So we had to spend yesterday learning how to play the bank's game so they will just hand you money whenever you need it. So that was him. Again, I asked AI to make it. This dude's even more yoked at a bank, getting completely denied, even though his net worth, his income is so much higher than the average American. It's not even funny. So the point is, the time to get access to money, access to capital, access to credit is before you're thirsty. Dig your well so that when you're thirsty, you have water, is what that means. And there's two primary reasons for why you need to do this. Number one, you need it as a safety net, okay? Your business can be great for 6 years, but shit can hit the fan any moment. I think COVID is really good proof that anything can happen and you want to be prepared for it. So, and you also don't want to have a couple $100,000 sitting over there in the bank, not earning a whole ton either, right? So too much idle cash, you're going to lose. Yeah, you can get 4 to 5% in a high yield savings account now. Okay. But here's the thing, that wasn't until recently could you get those numbers. And even so, things have appreciated like 30% over the past 3-4 years. You lost if you held too much in cash too. So you need access to credit and capital before you need it as a safety net. A lot of us got the EIDL for COVID, right? A lot of us got that, which the government made available. If they didn't make that available, 5 times as many businesses would have gone out of business instantly. Okay, so don't rely on the government to bail you out, because if you have a medical problem, if you lose 2 staff members and they take a bunch of clients a mile down the road and be competitive, the government's not going to bail you out. You have to create your own safety net. Okay. The other reason that you might want to do this is to get started into business. Okay. So when I started, I made all the financial mistakes in the world. So I had, shoot, in my 20s, I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to get rich. I didn't have the know-how. I didn't have the discipline. I bought 3 homes for investments. It all melted down. We had the big recession in 2008, 2009. So I had 3 properties that went into foreclosure. I destroyed my credit. I had multiple credit card collections and had to pay those off. I avoided bankruptcy and paid it all down, but it took me years. And I made a lot of mistakes. And as I paid it down, that's when I was looking to get into starting my own business. I could not get it. I had no credit card at this point because nobody would ever give me one. In fact, my first credit card was only a $300 credit card limit, and it was secured, meaning I had to pay to get a $300 credit card limit, which is absurd. That's how bad my credit was. Now, I just looked at it earlier today. It's 827 out of 850. Okay. I learned how to play the banking game, but I didn't have this available to me when I got started. I wouldn't have not have been able to get into business if I couldn't get started. So I got mine through seller financing. I had a little bit of cash saved up. This was the original location. You can see how ugly it is. I'd since have bought the building across the street, built it out, moved in. So this is my first gym location ever. And I bought it with a little bit of a down payment and seller financing, which is a way to get financing when a bank won't give it to you. And so it allowed me to get in the game. And I, worked really hard. I built it up, and I used seller financing 2 more times to buy competitors and to rebrand it and make it work. So that was really cool. And during this time, I repaired my credit. I learned the game. And then now I can get loans very, very easily as I'm expanding now. So you need it as a safety net. A lot of you guys need it to get started, which you guys are already started, right? Unless you're starting another location. The third reason is so you can get ahead. Because here's the thing, guys, is access to credit and capital and OPM, other people's money. This is how the world works, okay? Apple, Google, Tesla, they have assets, right? They're worth hundreds of billions of dollars, but they also have hundreds of billions of dollars in loans. Why don't they just use their own money? Because they can get ahead faster by getting cheap money, investing it in their companies or other investments that make more than what they're borrowing at. And this is fundamental. This is how you take the profits of your business and get really rich, right? There's 3 things that I talk about to live what I call the profit lifestyle, where you have financial freedom and you're not beholden to your business and you don't have to spend all your time working. So there's 3 parts, right? Number 1, make big, sexy profits in your business. Absolutely. PT Legends will help you out with that, right? Number 2 and number 3 is what nobody thinks past. Number 2 is create indestructible wealth. And in order to do that, you need to dig your well before you're thirsty. It's a paramount step. And number 3 is you get to live the profit lifestyle. But if you can dig your well before you're thirsty, you can take advantage of amazing disruptions in the market. So I don't fear, because I've dug my well before I'm thirsty, I don't fear recessions anymore. I look at that as an opportunity to get ahead. If real estate dips by 30%, guess what? That means it's on sale. That's a really good time to dip in and buy a bunch of real estate. And I did that in COVID. As everything started tanking, I recognized an opportunity and I bought 3 pieces of real estate, 1 commercial and 2 as short-term rentals. And they appreciated like crazy over several years. I was able to do that because I dug my well before I was thirsty. Okay. I also had enough cash to weather COVID and all the shutdowns too, and access to capital. So you can use it to really get ahead, because if the market downturns and stocks plunge by 20%, it's a good time to pick them up. Same thing with real estate. Same thing with other businesses. You can buy businesses for very cheap if they're not doing well, and you can get another location started for pennies on the dollar than if you started one up from scratch. So you want to be in a really good position to weather the storm, but also lean into the storm and use that as an opportunity to grow at a really big rate. And so I acquired most of my locations, all my gyms, using some type of debt in some way. and then I paid it off, and it's just bam, cash flowing assets from there. I also have highlighted in a previous training, and this is what this slide shows, how I put my money into an infinite banking policy. We'll get to that in a second. And then I use those same dollars to buy real estate. And I'm a show not tell guy, right? So what you're seeing here is those are different pieces of commercial real estate that I own. Some are commercial buildings, some are long-term rentals, houses, some are short-term rentals. There's my primary home, which I'm not including that as an investment because I'm living here now. But you can see that these different things, I'm making about 82 grand a year, not doing anything from this real estate. It cash flows to me. But I also make money every time I pay the mortgage payment, right? It reduces the amount I owe, increases my equity, and of course, appreciation. I'm only using 3% a year, very conservative. Obviously, in the last several years, I've made a lot more money. But just by these different pieces of real estate that I put into these infinite banking policies first, it adds over $300,000 in net worth to me every year, not lifting my finger. And in 30 years, it's even better. Here are the future values. In 30 years, when these mortgages are paid off, I'm going to make 750 grand a year not doing anything. And I'm going to have over $15 million net worth because I dug my well before I was thirsty. And when I found the right deals, I was able to pounce on them. And there's a reason you want to use debt and financing to do it instead of cash. Let's say you had one house that you bought for $300,000 in cash. So you have no mortgage on it. And it nets $1,600 from your rent. And let's say use 3% for appreciation. That home would appreciate 3% a year. You'd cash flow $1,600 a month and it would appreciate $9,000, right? Over time. Now, sometimes it might go up and down, just using averages. But if you took that same 300 grand and bought 3 of those same homes, putting 100 grand down and then financing the rest, you would cash flow about the same. You'd cash, instead of $1,600 a month, you'd cash flow $1,580. Your rent would be $4,800, but you'd have $3,220 in mortgages. And here's the thing, because you own 3, so you're cash flowing about the same monthly. But here's the thing, because you have 3 homes, the 3% appreciation is on 900 grand instead of 300. So it's growing at $27,000 a year in appreciation. And then 30 years when the mortgages are paid off, it's a big, big difference. The mortgages are paid off, so they're done. If you just bought one house all cash, you're going to be cash flowing $3,800 a month for your rent. But because it's now paid off and you bought 3, you're cash flowing $11,500. And the net worth of this, the equity, is 728 grand versus almost 2.2 million. So I don't care whether you use it for safety net or for investments and to get ahead and to grow and accelerate your wealth building. Digging your well before you're thirsty is massively, massively important. It's so, so important. I've seen businesses go out of business because they just didn't have the safety net. And there's several different ways you do it. So let's take a look at it. There's a few things you need to know to dig your well before you're thirsty. Credit score. So your credit score is very, very important. And I had to go from, I don't know what it was and never looked it up. It was probably in the 400s, as low as you could get. By the time you got 3 homes into foreclosure and probably 5 credit cards that got defaulted on in judgments. Yeah, it took me 10 years to clean that up, guys. 10 years. You can't get shit done with that. It's bad news. Your credit score is massively important. So I had to learn how to rebuild this credit score. Let me give you a few tips on something you can do now. Your credit card utilization rate. With the gym owner I talked about, whose credit score was super low, even though he barely used it, it's because he barely used it and his credit card utilization was high. What do I mean by that? It doesn't matter if you pay your credit card in full every month. Let's say you have a credit card with $10,000 in total limit, right? You charge $5,000 to it, okay? And this is your only credit card. And then the statement comes, you pay in full. Doesn't matter. It will still go on there as you have a 50%, $5,000 divided by $10,000 utilization rate. And that will take your credit score down probably by 60 points. You need your credit card utilizations really, really low. Really, really low. I like to do mine under 5%. Now my credit score is really high, so it doesn't matter. But the key is you have to pay that credit card off before the end of the billing date, right? Or get close to it, right? So I make my payments before it actually issues on some of mine. That way it keeps the rate low. And I open credit cards on a normal basis and apply for regular credit card limit increases every 6 months. And you need to update your annual income with these places because they might limit you with income. So make sure that they're not going to verify. So just put it pretty high. Ask for increases every 6 months for the most part, as long as it doesn't trigger a hard inquiry like Chase does. That will boost your credit score like crazy over time. Because I could have $5,000 at the end of the month, but my credit limit might be 150 grand at that point. Great. That's only like a, 3% utilization, I think. You're in good shape then. Okay. Versus if you have $5,000 out of 10, yeah, your credit score is going to get screwed on that one. So you really need to play the credit score game. Utilization rate is one of the fastest ones you can do for an instant increase. What if you actually need to keep balances though and buy yourself 25 days before it's due? In that case, use a credit card that doesn't report the balances on your personal credit report. American Express business cards do not. Do not. So that's very useful. Capital One business credit cards do. So keep that in mind. Everything's a little bit different, but you got to play the credit score game. Your credit score utilization is big. Also, even if you don't use these credit cards, use them like once a year to keep them open and keep them active. The longer you have that, the more it increases your credit score. The less you use of them, the more it increases your credit score. So open them up, even if you don't use them. Okay. It's really, 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 really important to improve that credit score. If you have negative things on your credit card, you need to dispute them. You can do it online now. Go to the 3 credit bureaus. There's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You can get a free credit report, look for the discrepancies, dispute any. Even if it's valid, try to dispute, say, I need you to supply proof that this is, I actually owe this. Because there's strict requirements on what the company has to do, a lot of times it will fall off. So there's a lot you can do on that game. I could spend another 3 hours talking about that. But that's important. And little credit card hacks that you can do, like American Express ones, quite often you can apply for a card and 61 days after it opens, you can apply for an increase of 3 times whatever that was. So if they give you a 5 grand, at day 61, put it in your calendar, ask for a credit limit of $15,000. There's a very high likelihood you're going to get it. Okay. But credit cards can supply a little, now they're very high interest rates. You don't really want to carry balances on them if you can prevent it, but you can hack it a little bit. So 0% APR credit cards are around. They'll charge you 3% up front. But again, they'll give you 0% for, 16 months, 18 months, 12 to 18 months typically. And essentially, yeah, you're paying 3% for like 18 months. That's pretty amazing. And what you can do too is move balances. Like American Express, you could open one up for 0% for 12 months, and you could transfer even the credit limit. So you got 10K on this one, you got 8K on this one, transfer 6 of it over there, right? Now you have a bigger one, then you can get the 0% and go from there. Citi is really good to be able to just deposit the money into your checking account, so you don't even have to use it as a credit card to get the 0%. I've done that before, where I took like 16 grand at 0%. They charge you 3% once, right? And I was able to just deposit the money into my checking account. I think that's how I bought my wife's ring, believe it or not, engagement ring, back when I didn't have much money. So you can hack that game pretty well when you learn that. And that is the source of funding should you need it. Again, I don't want you carrying balances necessarily on 26% APR credit cards, but you can play that game well. And even if you never use that as a source of funding by playing the 0% games, it's going to improve your credit score. When you open these and keep them open, ask for balance increases. Okay. That will open the doors to lines of credit. Now, if you own a home, your home equity line of credit is one of the easiest and best sources. Easiest and best sources, unless your credit score sucks. Like I was talking about that other gym owner. He's got over $1 million of untapped equity, but he can't get to it, which is a shame because his credit score sucks. But this should be the easiest ones. Most will allow you to lend up to 80 to 90% of your equity in it. So let's do some math real quick. Okay. Let's take one of my homes. It's probably worth about $620,000. Okay. $620,000. Let's use 80% loan to value ratio. So let's take it times 0.8. So 620 grand times 0.8 is 496,000. That's the maximum line of credit that bank might be able to give me. Some banks will give you up to 90%. Then let's subtract that from the mortgage I owe on it, which I believe, I could be wrong, but let's put in like 225,000. Okay. So 496K minus 225K is 271,000. That's what I could get a line of credit for. And lines of credit are my favorite because they don't cost you any money unless you choose to use it. When I want to use it for my line of credit, I just log in and I transfer it into my checking account. Bam, I've got that cash instantly, and I'm only being charged on interest on the outstanding amount. That's really cool. So I need to apply for an increase in this one, and you should because it's appreciated a lot since I last got it. But I open it up. I had no use for it, but it's digging your well before you're thirsty. The thing is like the gym owner I talked about with that home equity line of credit, when he first got the house and paid cash for it, they offered to do it for him. They wanted to do, but he's like, I don't have any use for the money. I'm not going to do it. And then now that he's learning, he's working with me to expand into multiple locations. He's working with me to grow investments and invest his money smartly to create passive income. Now that he went to go do this, because his credit score sucks, they're like, we won't do it for you. And that's the whole thing. When you can get these lines of credit, get them open before you need it. Because now that he needs it for an opportunity, he can't get it. Dig your well before you're thirsty. I don't mean to sound like a broken record. Actually, I do, because it is so damn important. And the other gym owner I was mentioning that has to find a new place, new location. He typed in a private chat. He's like, everybody listen to Scott's info on digging your well before you're thirsty. Because I had the business line of credit set up. I didn't follow through with it. Now that I need it, I can't get it. So do this now. It'll save you from going out of business. It'll make life a lot easier, or it's going to have giant leaps forward in net worth when you find something amazing to invest in or to grow your business. So, if I look at, this is a credit union. Don't steal my personal information, please. I'm trusting you guys. So I don't carry much money in here, but places to get lines of credit, local credit unions and smaller banks are great. In general, Chase's and Wells Fargo's, they hate business owners. They hate small business owners. So you can see I've got different lines of credit. I've got a small one for 20 grand on one business that I don't even remember when I opened up that. This right here is another business line of credit. You can see for convenience purposes, I think I brought over around $5,800, but that's like a $75,000 line of credit there on the business. That's a business line of credit. And then here's a home equity line of credit. This one's $149,000. It's got a $0 balance on both of these, right? But it's there if I need it. And I have used it. I have used it to acquire a business just a few months ago. And then I swapped to do it quick, and then I swapped it out for my infinite banking. So dig your well before you are thirsty. You can see I've got 149 plus 20, 169 plus 75. What is that? I don't know. Over $250,000 of cash I can access instantly to use as a safety net or to make a big move forward, whatever it is. And that's just in this bank, right? So dig your well. I love lines of credit. Home equity lines of credit are the easiest ones to get, but talk to a small local bank, talk to a small local credit union about getting a business line of credit as well. And you can see I have both in here. I've got two business lines of credit here, and I have a home equity line of credit at this bank. So do those. Those are my favorite ones because it doesn't cost you squat unless you use it. These don't even have annual fees at all. And let's check the interest rate on it. It's only at 9%, guys. And in today's environment, in November 2024, 9% on a business line of credit or home equity line of credit, that's pretty darn good. My business one is the same, I believe. Let's double check it. 9% on a business line of credit is so damn good. If you get a business loan, it's probably gonna be 12, 14% up from that, maybe even. Um, okay, so credit score, credit card hacking, lines of credit, infinite banking policies. If you need something like this, shoot it in the comments. I can send you additional trainings I've done on infinite banking policies. Essentially, what I do is I take all my spare cash that kicks off from the businesses and I put it in an infinite banking policy, which is the vehicle's a whole life policy, but designed so the insurance is little and I overfund it. So it acts like a savings account or a Roth IRA that creates non-taxable income for life that's guaranteed, and I can loan that money to myself when I need it. And I can show you these pieces of real estate that I showed you here that has exploded my cash flow and net worth. I put all the money in my two infinite banking policies and I loan it to myself to use the same money to buy these properties. And over time, I earn a return in two places instead of one. I know it's hard to track when I just show you that. So if you need the extra training, I will send it to you. But infinite banking policies are where I park my money. And when I need it, I get it in 3 business days wired to my account. And it's such a phenomenal tool for business owners. It's unbelievable. Another place to dig your well before you're thirsty is just your personal network. You may have very wealthy clients who would be happy to fund you. So just creating relationships before you need them, whether it's for an investor, whether it's somebody to get a loan from, whether it's personal or whether it's business banking relationships. Create these relationships now because you can call on them should an opportunity arise. Now let's talk about, let's say you do need money. What are other ways to get money? So let's say you do need money now. Now, if you've done the credit score game, if you manage your debt to income ratio, you played the credit card hacking game, you're going to be very qualified in the eyes of a bank. So getting a personal or a business loan is going to be way easier. There's 2 main factors. One is your credit score, and 2 is your debt to income ratio. How much monthly cash goes out to cover any loans that you have compared to what is your income coming in. And then also seller financing. As I mentioned, the first 3 businesses I opened, I actually acquired. They were failing or not doing that well. And I acquired them buying them with seller financing. I put a little bit of money down. And then seller financing is basically when the seller holds the note. So let's say the first one I think I bought for like $35,000. I don't remember what the exact numbers were. Let's say I put down $10,000. Okay, that's close to what it was actually. So I paid $10,000, $25,000. I think I probably financed over 2 years ish at 0%, by the way, which is great. So $25,000 divided by 2 years or 24 months is about $1,041 a month that I paid down. And then when it's paid off, the loan's off, and there we go. So seller financing is very useful when buying businesses or competitors. You can also do it in real estate too. It's not as frequent, but you can definitely get seller financing in real estate. But that's how I was able to grow with no credit, no cash. I did clever seller financing options to get that money when I didn't have it. But yeah, so these are the main ways that you need to dig your well before you're thirsty. Some of this stuff will get you access immediately. Like doing a few things with certain people's credit scores, you can raise it by 60, 80, 120, 150 points within 2-3 months. And bam, you're immediately bankable. That's what I'm working on with that one gym owner who has over $1 million in equity locked that he could get access to for a cheap rate and turn it into way more money. So we are fixing the credit card blemishes and we're doing the hacks. And he's just going to walk into the bank and it'll be a different conversation. They're going to instantly approve him. Bam. And then he can use that money to grow. So those are the main things that you need to focus on in here. Some of you may need some help on something like this. Some of you are still working like as you're profitable, you're doing well, you're socking money aside. But what do you do with that money aside? Should you pay down some of the debt? Should you put in an infinite banking policy? Guys, if you need any help with that, you can book a 15-minute call. So ptlegends.com/schedule. You'll be talking to Craig and he'll kind of understand your situation. And then he'll get you speaking to the person who's going to be best suited to handle it. If it's business stuff you're struggling with on the profit end or whatever, on the lead end, right? You might be talking to me, you might be talking to Craig or Dave. If it's stuff on the financial end, you may be talking to me, but you can book right there, talk about kind of what's important to you, and then he will make sure to get something in the schedule aligned to the best person to take care of it. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to share, guys. But at the end of the day, when things are going well, you don't think about digging your well before you're thirsty. You just don't. It's not something that's top of mind. You will kick yourself later. Something will happen, whether it's negative or positive, and you're like, shit, I need access to some money. And a lot of times it is just too late if you don't do this stuff before. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. We'll be on next Tuesday, same time, which is 12 p.m. PST. We'll be on Tuesday, 12 p.m. PST, talking about another topic about how to increase the profits inside of your gym. Appreciate you all coming on and watching. And again, go to ptlegends.com/schedule if you need to schedule a quick call and go over anything relevant to your business or your wealth building that's important to you. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. And we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you are ready to start making an extra $10,000 a month or more this month by making more money with less clients and create a consistent flow of high-quality leads, you can learn about what it's like to work with me and how ridiculously affordable it is at CoachScottCarpenter.com. And if you got any value out of this episode, please pay it forward and leave a review for this show. It helps other gym owners find the answers to the huge problems that we all share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.